Coming up, Karine Jean-Pierre still delusional on Biden. Democrats demonstrate they haven't learned anything from yesterday's disastrous behaviour during the Trump speech. Stephen A. Smith clearly shows Trump has a true mandate, and Democrat senators continue with juvenile behaviour. Ex-Biden press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Biden's chances and cognitive function.
I do want to ask about your boss, President Biden. You were asked recently at Harvard about the onslaught that you guys faced after he had a very bad debate performance. You described it as a firing squad. Another Biden aide said the party lost its mind. Do you believe that Joe Biden would have won if he had stayed in? And a follow-up to that, do you think Kamala Harris would have had a better shot had she had more time?
So look, I was asked a question. I answered it honestly and how I felt at the moment. I was the one that was going to the podium almost every day after that happened, and it was shocking what I saw. But I also, I can't speculate, right? I don't know what would have happened. And anybody who says they do, they don't really know.
Unbelievably, Karine Jean-Pierre states that she answered the question honestly. Really, even now she cannot admit that she was just lying for the Biden team. It was clearly evident to anyone that had ever dealt with someone with cognitive decline that Biden was quite a long way down the cognitive decline road. The Democrats still have not learned from their election loss. They believe that denial is the best way forward to fixing their problems. In fact, they don't even think that they have any problems. It is truly remarkable that a major political party in the most powerful nation on earth is unable to face up to the fact that they lost. And they need to be introspective and have a close look at why they lost. The loss is not fresh anymore. It was 4 months ago. And on to their behaviour in Congress last night. We have the father of one of those killed in Afghanistan during the withdrawal on last night, and the capture of the perpetrator of the planting of the bomb that also killed so many.
What was disturbing to me was and this should not be a partisan issue whatsoever, the death of our kids, and certainly what fantastic news we all just heard last night with this man being arrested. You would think that every single person in that place would be standing up and applauding and cheering. And we all know there was only one side that seemed to be doing that. There was probably only a third of the Democrats even so much as clapped, which is incredibly insulting as a Gold Star family. This has got nothing to do with politics. This is our military we're talking about, and that needs to change.
Schmitz is disgusted that the Democrats would not stand to applaud the monster's capture. As he said, the applause had nothing to do with politics. It was about the military, an acknowledgement of those suffering from the loss of loved ones and those who still lived, maimed and disfigured. That the Democrats were unable to acknowledge this is to their permanent discredit. If you enjoy this content, please like, share and subscribe. Schmitz continues.
I wouldn't even use the word lack of communication. There was no communication from the onset. I mean, we met with Biden in Dover briefly, and everybody has seen what happened after that on the tarmac with looking at his watch, and none of us were obviously thrilled with that. We made it very public that we were not happy with this administration and the way that was handled.
This behaviour by the Democrats goes back a long way. There was no communication with the families at the time. Worse, at Dover, Biden looked at his watch, in effect saying, "Why am I wasting so much time here? Let me out of here." Utterly disgraceful. Ex-Obama senior advisor David Axelrod makes excuses.
I don't think the performative stuff was very helpful at all last night. But, you know, here's the deal. Both parties in some ways are captives of their bases. And I think that there are a lot of members of Congress who probably come from districts that are overwhelmingly Democratic, who feel like their constituents are expecting them to be very actively protesting what the president is doing.
Axelrod admits that what the Democrats did was not a good look. But in his opinion, hey, it doesn't really matter because some of their base want them to show that they're opposing Trump and his agenda. Sorry, just because they're pathetic and ineffectual at prosecuting an agenda is no excuse for the behaviour that was so rude on things that should have absolutely been celebrated in a bipartisan fashion. The problem is, since 2016, a full 9 years ago, the Democrats have had no agenda apart from being anti-Trump. That is why they allowed such ludicrous policies as DEI, all the trans stuff, etc. to hold sway, as all they were focused on was Trump. So the far left radical agenda snuck in because the Democrats were not doing their day job. Mark Halperin on the issues of Democrats' behavior.
The Democrats' criticism of Donald Trump, that he engages in aberrant and disgusting behavior, is a fair critique, and you could cite a million examples for it. To not stand for that little boy is aberrant and disgusting behavior. So they not only do they lose the high ground, but they shock the conscience, I hope, of many Democrats. And I know some Democrats who texted me. It's just, I understand the theatrics may be caught up in the moment, but for no Democrat to stand, applaud, and turn to his or her colleagues and say, like, come on, including the leaders, is aberrant and disgusting.
Halperin makes the point that Democrats try to trade on Trump being aberrant and disgusting. He states that the Democrats not standing and applauding the young boy was aberrant and disgusting. I agree, but it is worse than this. As I showed yesterday, it wasn't just as if the issue with the young boy was an isolated incident during that speech. To see the Democrats not applauding, just watch.
Thank you, DJ.
Notice that there are no Democrats standing. How absolutely disgusting. That behaviour goes way above and beyond. They're entirely lacking in the higher functions of what it means to be a decent human being. And they try to come across as so ethical and moral. We have now been shown very clearly that this does not apply to the Democrats. As Biden would say, come on, man. Now, I served in Australia's House of Representatives for 12 years. I can assure you that almost no one I know would have behaved in this way. Some far left Greens and ex-Greens accepted. Not on either side of the aisle. There's some things that just to serve to remind us of our common humanity. And there were many such instances during the Trump speech. And the simple fact is the Democrat representatives utterly failed the test of basic humanity. But it is not just elected Democrats either. It is the media hangers-on as well.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ. And I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
Once again, this is utterly disgraceful behaviour. MSNBC's Who Else, Nicole Wallace, initially states what a great human moment that was. It was, and that is absolutely where she should have left it, celebrating the moment. Being MSNBC, where everything has to be an attack on Trump, that is entirely what she has done. To turn this wonderful moment as an opportunity to prosecute a January 6 argument is beyond reprehensible. What the Democrats have clearly done in the past couple of days is more clearly removed the mask to reveal who they really are than I would ever have imagined. This will be fodder for years to come. Whenever they claim to be taking the moral high ground, just show them some of their behaviour. To continue with this behaviour on the night in Congress.
Precious 12-year-old girl. And I looked at Laken Riley's mom, and she's tearing up and she's fighting back tears. And we see this 13-year-old young man who became a member of the Secret Service with Sean Curran tonight, the new head of the Secret Service, which was a really special moment. This young man makes it into West Point tonight. All these incredible Americana optics that anybody with a heart, mind, body, and soul would love. Your little daughter fought off these brutal, vicious, vile, evil attackers. I can't even imagine how she did. And I know, well, my faith tells me I know where she is, and I know you will be with her again. But if they can't stand and applaud you and stand up for the right of innocent people like your daughter, what does that party stand for? I found it repulsive.
They don't stand for anything humane. They don't stand for us as citizens. They don't stand for our security. They don't stand for honorable things that we need in this country. And it's very disgraceful to us as U.S. citizens that those are the people that we have here.
Sean Hannity made some very powerful points. For the mother of Jocelyn Nungari, who similarly did not have her slain daughter applauded, it is clear that she has nothing but contempt for the Democrats. This has been utterly shameful, unforgivable behaviour. Then we have Joy Behar on The View, never the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Been in office for 6 weeks. Seems like 6 years, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And he's been going around with his cronies touting his so-called landslide and blowout win. But he won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. We can sit up there and play around all we want to. In 2020, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the electoral college vote. A matter of fact, the Republicans hadn't won the popular vote, if I remember correctly, since 2004. But they did this year. So 20 years after they last won the popular vote, they won the popular vote. They won the electoral college vote. The man won every swing state. And on top of it all, 89% of the counties shifted against. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
But the problem is that if you're the Democratic Party and you lost 49.8% to 48.3%, and you're looking at that 1.5% dip, that's an excuse for you to say, what we did really wasn't that bad.
Some people didn't
we should continue to do that.
Stephen A. Smith certainly lands blow after Behar's idiotic Democrat talking point that Trump doesn't have a mandate. Fact after fact proves the election provided a decisive mandate. But the point that he alludes to in terms of Democrat views is most telling. The simple fact is that by pushing the agenda that it really wasn't a consequential election and that Trump somehow got lucky means that they do not have to deal with the hard work of doing introspection, seeing where they went wrong and how to change. But as has been so clearly evident throughout this term of Trump, the Democrats don't acknowledge that they had a significant loss at all. So it is just angry, frustrated, childish behaviour and more of the same. The electorate has taught them nothing. Want to see how stupid and childish the Democrats are? Just watch.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one, Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse. Prices of groceries, gas, eggs, of essentials. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing to lower costs for you. Instead, he's part of violent police officers. He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw, drive government programs, and then, even worse, giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data. Social security numbers, tax returns, health care. He's fired thousands of essential workers, people who help our veterans get their benefits, people fighting Ebola in Africa so it doesn't come here, frozen funding for vital programs that so many American families need, cancer research, education, payments to family farmers, and so much more. Why are they doing this? Trump, Musk, Doge are taking these vital services away from you for one reason only, so they can give tax breaks to their billionaires club. Their plan is awful, simply awful. Billionaires win, families lose.
Well,
and that
win.
is the truth.
And that is the truth.
And that is the truth.
Look at how ridiculous it is. This just goes to show no individuals in the Democrat Party. Seems that even ex-astronauts have a lobotomy when they become Democrat politicians. This is who the Democrats really are. Think of no individuality and an entire lack of humanity. Remind you of anyone?
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
This may seem like it is just levity, but when you look at the Democrats' behaviour and that of their fellow travellers, it is pretty close to the mark. What do you think of the Democrats' lack of self-analysis as far as the election policy is concerned? Please let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.